Hello. It seems wrong not to use not-gridwatch to test the other expansion of renewable capacity proposed by Labour and Greens, solar power. What effect would that have? Here's Labour's manifesto promise again: triple solar power by 2030. Here's Green's promise, a mighty 100 gigawatts of solar power with a 5-year later deadline. In 2024, His Majesty's government estimated we had between 15 and 20 gigawatt installed. This may be a considerable underestimate, as not all solar installs are registered. Additionally, many solar installs may be at least partly for self-consumption, so they will manifest in energy statistics as missing demand in sunny weather. We can wave hands and say Labour and Greens both promised about the same. I hacked not-gridwatch again, this time so I can set a magnifier for solar power. The page now multiplies the solar datum to produce additional solar generation. I use the additional solar generation to first displace coal generation. There was some in this data from 2024. If there's some remaining additional, I use it to displace gas generation over a 3 gigawatt idle, as this is what renewable generation does on the UK supply network. If there's still some additional magnified solar, I use it to curtail wind. As we saw in previous videos, wind power curtailment solves the problem of excess supply by paying wind farms for their lost harvest not to generate. Any solar displaced wind will appear in the charts as a red curtail figure. If after the additional solar displaces wind power, some additional solar still remains, this appears in the charts as dark green overgen. With 1.5 times, 50% extra solar capacity, a not very sunny day like the 8th of May last year burns less gas to satisfy demand. The 9th of May was a sunny, barely breezy day. Even the small upgrade to capacity resulted in the small amount of wind power available being curtailed. The additional solar generation that appears as overgen exceeds consumption for that day. Many solar inverters cannot be explicitly curtailed. What's likely to happen is that a local glut of generation would cause the local mains AC waveform to approach its specification limits, and properly designed inverters will refuse to export. I'd expect in a solar project-rich environment, like a neighbourhood full of rooftop installs, the export refusals to be shared around randomly chaotically if the installs are highly similar. In reality, I suspect that there will likely be some installs which are more sensitive than others, or due to position in the local circuit to measure the local waveform slightly differently, and the misfortune of refusals to fall less indiscriminately. Owners may interpret this as fault with their equipment or installs. It really isn't. The issue is at UK latitudes a summer problem, as total demand reduces while solar power yield reaches a maximum. At 2 times solar capacity, we can see overgeneration is considerably greater in the today chart. The yesterday chart shows only further reduced gas consumption as it was a less sunny day. In the longer term charts, overgen and wind curtailment are both hidden in the lower time resolution. On a per day basis, additional daytime only solar production is offset by nighttime gas consumption and all but disappears. At triple solar power, overgen on the sunny May day is colossal. 20 gigawatt of overproduction for 2 hours is 40 gigawatt hours. The ramp to its left averages about 10 gigawatt for 3 hours, another 30 gigawatt hours. If we reasonably suggest the other half of that day was a mirror image, that day would have produced 140 gigawatt hours of excess energy. That figure dwarfs a pumped hydro scheme like de Noorwijk at 7 gigawatt hour capacity, That was a calm day when we weren't also rejecting much wind power harvest. Similar overgen spikes and wind displacement spikes are now visible across the year, more reliably in mid-year months. Without an adequate storage solution for this future growth in renewable generation, the phenomenon of lost harvest will become more commonplace. The noticing is already happening at consumer level. The EFIX channel recently reported on smart appliances refusing to operate in overvoltage conditions caused by increasing amounts of small generation where those same schemes are removing demand, resulting in the mains waveform being ever closer to its specification limits. All I wanted to do today was, for completeness, to show what the promised solar capacity increase might do to current UK supply mix. It should be obvious that merely increasing renewable capacity stopped being an adequate plan some years ago when renewable capacity first exceeded electricity demand. I think UK prospects for sustainable renewable energy are excellent, but we badly need the next plan. Thank you for watching and for listening.